Alrighty, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of Roundabout Sports, presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media, where our passion is our profession. Thank you all so much. It is a rainy Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. I'm the Maestro Jeremy Carp. I hope everybody is doing pretty good this evening and this week. As always, we'll get the usual spiel out of the way. Roundabout Sports can be found on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, and any and all other streaming platforms out there. Of course, be sure to follow us on Facebook, X, and on the official Interstate 70 Sports Media YouTube channel. Also, I want to thank our proud sponsors here at Interstate 70 Sports Media, starting with, of course, Harsh Construction LLC. Harsh Construction LLC, with over 50 years combined experience in landscaping, construction, and renovation. Be sure to call for a free quote today at 618-363-9818. That is 618-363-9818. Remember, Harsh Construction LLC is your solutions for your harsh problems. And of course, I want to give another shout out to Crispy Clean Lawn Care Brush and Junk Removal. Be sure to call them at 618-593-2997. That is Crispy Clean Lawn Care Brush and Junk Removal at 618-593-2997. Another proud sponsor here at Interstate 70 Sports Media and Roundabout Sports. So, while we await the arrival of, my co-host, as usual, Adam Frecks, it's a lot we're going to talk about here this week and in episode 184. And starts with, of course, we got NFL training camp in full swing. Um, Obviously, we're also means we're dawned upon the preseason games as well in the NFL. Of course, we also have the retirement announcement that came out earlier today of the legendary Russell Westbrook. So I know that is also something that Adam and I are going to definitely be discussing once he arrives. Um, But yeah, so let's kind of get started on some of the quick hits of things that are going on right now in the world of sports. Um, and like I said, we're going to exclude Russell Westbrook's retirement right now just because um, I mean, I really want to save that for Adam. Well, I do think there's one thing that I kind of want to talk about, and that is so recently the New York Yankees had their annual Old Timers Day. It's a time where they get a lot of the legendary players over the course of their franchise's storied history, bring them together. They have a fun little baseball game, get their moments with the crowd. I mean, it's usually a big turnout. Now, was definitely a smaller crowd this time around, but one of the notable absences of the old timers day was Tommy John. Now, the legendary left-hander is 83 years old right now, and he is sadly in declining health. He is in hospice care at his home. He had penned a statement to all the fans and everybody, basically thanking them for all the memories and all the good times and everything. Um, so and it brought up a lot of renewed interest in Tommy John's career because to many, Tommy John is just the surgical procedure that a lot of pitchers have had over the course of their career. Well, others will remember Tommy John for having almost 300 career wins, pitching the second most playing the second most, not even just pitching, but playing the second most seasons in baseball history. He played 26 years in Major League Baseball. And you know, I really I recently had done an article um about Tommy John and his case for Cooperstown because believe it or not, he is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Um and I wanted to kind of go over some of his statistics here. So he had a career 555 record, um 288 wins, 231 losses, 3.34 ERA. If we're going by his WAR, wins above replacement, it was a career 62.1. He threw 4,710 career innings. It's the 14th most since 1901. And his wins and innings are the second most for any pitcher since 1901 who is not in the Hall of Fame, both of whom are second only to the Rocket himself, Roger Clemens. And we have a pretty good idea as to why he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. He's a four-time All-Star. He was a two-time runner-up in the Cy Young voting. In 14 postseason appearances, he was 6-3 with a 2.65 ERA, and he won 20 or more games 3 times. Now, during his career time span, so from 1963 to 1989, only 6 pitchers won more games than he did. Steve Carlton, Don Sutton, Phil Niekro, Tom Seaver, and Gaylord Perry. Well, and Nolan Ryan. Um, all of them are in the Hall of Fame. I think one of the more interesting things about his surgery is the fact that he played in more seasons after his surgery than he did during, like, beforehand. So he pitched more seasons post Tommy John surgery than beforehand. Um so there is always that. I will say though, the argument can be made. Yes, he never was a World Series champion. He was not a big award winner. He never won the Cy Young. He only made it to, 4 times in 26 years as an All-Star. But this is my whole thing when it comes to Tommy John and a lot of players who are either not in the Hall of Fame or are in the Hall of Fame that should have been a long time ago. There is such a thing, like, people need to understand. The Hall of Fame is for the players, not just players with the greatest statistics, but players who truly left their mark on the game, whether it be on the field or off. Um, and I look at it like you take a look at Tommy John, and yes, statistically, while he had really good statistics, his career was more based on longevity as opposed to outright dominance. Despite that, I still take a look at the fact and think, hey, um, Tommy John still deserves his due in Cooperstown. I hate to say it like this, while he's still with us. Like I said, he is 83 years old and dealing with some health issues. So we do have that, and we do send him our best wishes at this time. But I personally do believe that he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So that's like I said, just my personal opinion on that matter here. If you just give me ones. Okay. So, moving right along now in some of the other big news, sans Russ Westbrook's retirement. Um, the Los Angeles Lakers have been sold. So the reports indicated earlier today, and this was a record-setting deal, mind you. Um, Reports had indicated that the Los Angeles Lakers were are being sold for $12.5 billion just a year after Mark Walter had acquired a majority share in the organization. Um, that's definitely one that we're gonna bear with me as I delve into that because um it's gonna be there. Mark Walter is selling the team to Bob Iger, the former Disney CEO, and Joshua Kushner. Now the deal values the Lakers at 12.5 billion, and Kushner currently has a minority stake in the Miami Heat. Um, and this is crazy because just for 40 years, over 40 years, um, Jerry Buss and his family owned the Los Angeles Lakers. And now, just like in the span of a couple years, we've had two different ownership changes. Um, and Bob Iger and Kushner both said in a statement, as lifelong NBA fans, we are deeply honored for the opportunity to become stewards of the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most iconic sports franchises in the world. We have immense respect for the leadership and vision of Jerry and Jeannie Buss. Our long-term commitment is to build on that foundation, compete at the highest level, and serve this extraordinary team, its fans, and the city of Los Angeles. Now, the agreement does not include the Buss family shares in the franchise, and there's no indication that Jeannie Buss will relinquish her role as the team's governor. Um, so, this is the thing. When she not stole, sold, her deal to sell a majority stake in the franchise to Mark Walter included a stipulation that she'd be in the governor role for at least 5 years. Bob Iger made it clear today that he intends to honor that agreement. Um, so we don't know who would take on that role afterwards, but one thing is for sure, the Los Angeles Lakers are being sold for a record $12.5 billion, which is just absolutely crazy to think about. Um, so we do have that. Um, Also, a little bit of NFL news. Like I said, we got a lot of training camp stuff going underway. Um, Kyler Murray, the former number one overall pick of the Arizona Cardinals, now with the Minnesota Vikings, has been named the starting quarterback. Meanwhile, J.J. McCarthy, for another former first rounder and last year's starter for the Vikings, says he still wants to remain with the team. Um, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of Minnesota, said yesterday that McCarthy is the number two quarterback. They also have former number two overall pick Carson Wentz on the roster. So you got a former number one overall pick. You got the former number two overall pick, and you got the number 10th overall pick from 2024, all on your roster. Um, and yet somehow it still seems like the Minnesota Vikings are in trouble. There is all three quarterbacks, and McCarthy, I will say, smaller sample size, just his third year in the league. But the point being, none of these quarterbacks have ever truly stood out when it comes to the NFL. Like I said, the sample size is definitely smaller with um, when it comes down to JJ McCarthy. But Carson Wentz has never truly lived up to the number two. Um, and Kyler Murray has definitely not lived up to the overall number one he was drafted in back in 2018. But or not 2018, I'm sorry, 2019. But Anyway, um, I mean, indications are looking pretty good out of Vikings camp, and you know the Vikings will open their preseason against the New York Giants. And this making the call now is smart. Making it before preseason or anything gives Kyler Murray extra time to work with the ones, with the starters, really get more familiar with the scheme and everything. Um, I'm also going to be honest. I don't find it that as much of a mess as the Vikings quarterback room is. I don't find it that surprising that Kyler Murray uh ended up winning uh on that job. So that's just yeah, that's just my opinion. Everybody's got theirs. Um Whatever the case is, here's my thing. You know, and then you bring up the question, did Kyler Murray actually outperform JJ McCarthy, or is JJ McCarthy just struggling so bad? It's one of the other questions that come out of camp. Um I'm gonna I am supposed to be waiting for Adam. I'll be honest, for this week, based off his work schedule, I don't know when he will be able to be on. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about Russell Westbrook's retirement, um, because it definitely is massive news that's going on. Um, and keep in mind, Russell Wilson, to take you back, he's the all-time leader in NBA history in triple doubles, the 2017 MVP. Um, oh, It looks like just now, I know he's getting situated in the background. Adam, are you with us?
What's going on, brother? Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Hold on. Let me adjust my sound.
Because if you can hear me, then I got you in just the perfect time. While he's getting situated, that's my co-host, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Frecks here, up as he left the studio. Okay, we'll give us just a couple seconds. I'm going to give him some time to kind of get himself all situated. I will say for some quick MLB news, um, the St. Louis Cardinals beat the Philadelphia Phillies today, 7-1. Of course, some tonight the Kansas City Royals take on the Los Angeles Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Right now the Royals are still fifth in the American League Central, and it's funny because they're still not the worst team in the league, but man, judging how off the fall from a couple years ago is significant. They're 49-72, and they're 13 games back in their division. But you know what? While Adam gets situated, this brings me to a perfect segue into my favorite segment on this show. And that is, just how bad do the Colorado Rockies suck? Since we're kind of talking about baseball. All right. Speaking about last place teams, Colorado Rockies are 48-73. They are an astonishing 24 and a half games back of the first place Dodgers in the National League West. They're 4-6 in the last 10. And while they're actually decent on the road, or I'm sorry, decent at home, they're 27-31, so it's not awful for their standards. They are 21-41 away from Coors Field. Um, yeah, it's not pleasant. I will say they did beat the Arizona Diamondbacks today, 6-4, so we do have that to look forward to for them. Um, but meanwhile, this was the first series win for Colorado since 2022 when it comes to facing Arizona in Arizona. Now, as far as the worst team in baseball right now, That dubious honor goes once again to the Los Angeles Angels. The Angels, they are 15 games out of first place in the American League West with an abysmal 46 and 74 record, a 383 winning percentage. Whoo-wee. 20 and 40 on the road, 26 and 34 at home, and a lot of disappointing fans along the way. So the Colorado Rockies may suck, but just remember, folks, at least they're not the Los Angeles Angels. With that said, and that out of the way, we're going to try to hop on now. See if Adam's back. You hear me
Yes,
loud
sir.
and
What?
clear?
Yes, brother. What's going on?
Oh, man. Okay, so I got you in at just the perfect time. You popped in. Okay. Russell Westbrook. I just was about to start talking about him, but I really held out till you joined us. So, all right, tell me what is on your mind after 18 legendary years that included the finishing with the most triple doubles in league history and winning the MVP and over 27,000 career points. Russell Westbrook has retired. Kind of take me through your thoughts on this.
Man, I would say his stretch with the Thunder, that after KD had left, that 3 year stretch, especially that year after KD had left, one of the most spectacular seasons that I have ever seen from an individual. Uh, and I think Russ also got a bad rep that I don't think it was like super warranted. It seems like all of his teammates loved him, but there was it seemed like there was a pocket there in his career where like he was almost viewed as a malcontent. And I don't think that's really fair. Uh, uh, I don't think that's fair to kind of put on him. And then even in these last few years, he turned into that vet. He went to these teams that weren't that great, but he was all in on really developing the younger talent. When I think if somebody wanted to kind of put the keys in his hands, he still could be a 20-point scorer. But the thing is, with typically with the NBA, these vets who make $3-4 million, they're not going to get enough playing time compared to the young kid that's getting 15 to 20 to 30. Uh, Potentially top 100 player of all time. Yeah, so I think that I was actually surprised to see him. I was surprised to see him retire. I think he is still definitely worthy enough to definitely be on a team, and you can even talk me into he could be a starting point guard for some teams still. So great career though. At the end of the day, great career. He changed the triple doubles to where it became like a real stat again since Oscar Robinson. Not that it wasn't a big stat, but for a guy to do what he did for that MVP season that he had, man, one of the greatest individual seasons of all time.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the interesting thing, you, you talk about that he could still play and everything. Well, in the video that was posted by him, that was narrated by Michael B. Jordan, the actor, um, Westbrook, in there, the quote, the caption says, "Sometimes you don't even know when you've already watched the end. You had to be there, and now it's over." And I think that does really sum a lot of it up. I mean, he had such a phenomenal career, and yet the crazy thing is there was always players that got more of attention, notoriety, that always sold the more merch, like, and but he was still that consistent great player.
Right.
And like you said, he was beloved by his teammates, beloved by fans. Um, and I I look at it to where um he let's see, in 2011, the Thunder reached their NBA Finals, And despite the fact that him, KD, and James Harden were all under 24 years old. And of course, that was the year they lost to LeBron James and the Miami Heat
Right.
in 5 games. But yeah, Westbrook has 209 career triple doubles in his career. Um, and he became the first player to average a triple double across an entire season since the Big O himself, one of my favorite players, Oscar Robertson, back in 1962. His MVP season we talked about in 2017, he averaged more than 31 points a game. Now he was traded. This is where I think things did kind of go down. He was traded to the Rockets after the 2018 and 19 season. And after that, he literally played for the Wizards, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Kings. I mean, he kind of journeyed around to a bunch of different teams in the league, but he still loved what he did. And he was that veteran guy, like you said.
Well, he kind of after he left the Wizards, he was no longer. I would say almost once he got to the Wizards, he was no longer the guy. It was Bradley Beal at that point. Then after that, that kind of I don't want to say derailed his career, it just kind of changed the role that he would be forever in. The for the remaining years of his career. The Lakers situation that season ended up as an absolute just travesty. They end up cutting him. He goes to the Clippers after that. He Denver. He was a great fit in Denver. And then Sacramento. He was the vet.
And, in his career, he averaged 20.9 points, 8 assists, 6.9 rebounds, and 1.6 steals in a game. Um, and, you know, and here it is. He made the All NBA and All Star teams 9 times. He was an All Star MVP twice. He led the league in scoring twice, topped the league in assists twice, and to me, one of the biggest accomplishments you could have as an athlete, he was an Olympic gold medalist
Yeah. Yep.
in 2012 at the London Games. And here's another thing. He was named to one of the NBA's 75 all-time greatest players for the 75th
You
anniversary team.
you think he's top 75 all time? I'd put him top 100 for sure.
What's funny? Okay, let me ask you this, because this ties into this whole discussion. Do you put him above or below AD?
Anthony Davis.
Yeah,
Oh shit,
because I'm gonna tell you the
man.
truth.
So
I put him above. I put him above because I don't think AD should have been in the top 75.
yeah, yeah. Man, peak AD though, man. Peak AD with New Orleans, and even that run his first couple years with the Lakers. He was such a good player. He couldn't stay healthy. Body of work, man. I would go Russ. I think I would go Russ over AD.
Because I look at it to where I can understand if neither of them made the top 75, I would totally understand. I definitely consider both of them top 100. Heck, I would even go top 85. Like they're the guys to me that teeter on uh that you know that list. Now here's the thing. Unlike a lot of other lists of greatest athletes or all-time teams, they don't have it's not a ranking from 1 to 75. He didn't place like 63 on it. It
Right.
was just they took the 75. It's like the NFL 100, they took the 100 all-time greatest players or whatever. They made that all-time team. Well, this is what the NBA did. They took the greatest the in the history of the NBA, those 75 greatest players, from the committee, from the voters, and I take a look at and I'm glad you mentioned this because now I want to kind of take a look at this team. I mean, obviously there are so many players that I mean, we already know. Like, okay, here's one that another young player that's active that was already was named to that team. Giannis. Giannis was named to the team. Um, I think I'm trying to see um some others on here. Curry, of course, Stephen Curry was named to the team. KD was named to the team. James Harden. Um, Kawhi Leonard and Damian Lillard. I mean, give me your thoughts on now. Give me your thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts on Damian Lillard, uh, being named one of the 75 greatest. You still hear me, Adam?
Yeah, you're good, brother. My Alexa was going off trying to tell me the top news of the NFL today, so I had to mute my mic for a sec.
Oh, you're good.
Um, man, so I have a. This is going to be a little off topic, but I have a theory when it
Okay.
comes to like these lists, especially the NBA list, how sports talk has changed completely based on how we rank these NBA lists. We'll go back to Stephen A. and Skip Bayless with LeBron and Michael. Um, so like I was thinking about this today, how like this conversation of top players have kind of has changed the discourse of how sports are talked about, or even really anything that. Um, uh, but I lost my train of thought. What was you saying?
I mean, I was just saying because okay. So the whole gist of this, we're talking about Russell Westbrook making. You asked if he was one of the 75 greatest of all time, and that brought us to the all time the 75th anniversary team, and we looked at some of the guys that were on that team, um, such as Damian Lillard, um, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis. And that is when I asked you, do you think Russ is better than AD? And we both basically said, yes. Um,
I think he's better than I would take Russ over Lillard.
okay.
Yeah, just Kawhi is a better player. I think I don't want to say Russ has had probably a better individual career. I know Kawhi is ever in the lore forever for winning a championship in San Antonio and Toronto.
Yeah,
Um,
that is true.
the thing with Kawhi is just the injuries has kind of tapered him on. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's with these tops of like 75, man. It's you. There's a lot of players that get left out. A guy like Grant Hill is not on the top 75 because of injuries. Granted, he never won championships. It's just uh,
It does get tricky. It's a slippery slope with a lot of things. It creates a lot of amazing debate, that's for sure. And I know there were players on the list, like like you said, with every list of greatest or all-time teams, there's always going to be controversy over who's on it. Um, so no, I I totally get it. But you know, to me, Russell Westbrook is an all-time great. He's a future Hall of Famer.
for sure,
Um, and the interesting thing for me though, and I don't know if what you think about this take. He's also going to go down as one of the greatest to never win an NBA championship.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, especially like MVP caliber type of player to
18 years, man. 18 long years and a lot of high level years, and he did not come away with the championship.
and he only got to one.
And he only got to one. That's an
So.
even crazier thing.
And that's when he was young too. When he with Hart, same thing. Harden hasn't made
Yeah.
another one, has it? Yeah, Harden hasn't been there either. So KD's the only one who's won a championship, and that was him joining the Warriors.
Hmm.
So that it's interesting to look back at that particular Thunder's team. I mean, the Thunder ended up winning 1 years later, but just the talent that they had accumulated, and just all of them end up somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's funny to me too because I do look at it like, well, wait a minute, we like I mentioned, you take the three players on that core three on the Thunder at the time, KD, Harden, and Russ. And like I said, when they faced the Heat in the finals, the all three of them were at or under 24 years old.
Yeah,
Russ just retired and he's 37.
yeah.
So imagine playing the next 14 years, 13, 14 years, and no even finals appearances, let alone, and going to some really rough around the edge teams, like the Clippers, like the Wizards, like the Kings, like,
Even the Rockets team when he went to the Rockets, that was like
yeah,
because he was Harden was still there.
yeah,
Uh,
Harden was still there at
so
least.
it's just that never came to anything. Harden balling out MVP seasons, but they were never able to get. I think Harden made it to the Western Conference Final at the furthest, if I'm correct. I may be wrong on that,
I
but
believe so.
yeah. So and it's just granted, 18 years to be in the NBA is absolutely wild. The stretch that you guys are able to go through now as NBA players, where it's not uncommon to get 15 plus years for these superstars anymore.
Yeah, and of course now LeBron James has the all-time record of seasons played. I think he's entering.
What, 24,
I think this will be season 24
23 or 24 for sure.
because he's been playing since the 2003 season. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that'll be
So oh 3 to oh
24.
04. Yeah, this should be 24.
God, we are old, man.
Brother, who you telling me? He
Oh,
graduated a year before I did.
I was watching. I don't know why I watched this. This is random, but it's still kind of basketball related. And football related. What the hell? I watched. There's this full Monday Night Football game I remember so well from 2003, and it was the St. Louis Rams versus the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, and the halftime and the full game is on YouTube, and I watch it a lot just to have in the background to pass time when I'm cleaning or something.
Right.
And there's the halftime where Al Michaels and John Madden are interviewing this young upstart basketball star for the Cleveland Cavaliers named LeBron James.
It's crazy, ain't it? Just little pop culture references, going
Just,
back, watching stuff like that, seeing how
I'm just,
young he was.
yeah, just going back and seeing. I mean, you've seen that famous Raw clip where he has the flip phone taking pictures.
Yeah.
Um,
Brother,
so
I lived it. I remember watching him playing high school when he was a junior, when he was on ESPN, especially when he was a senior. Carmelo Anthony and
oh
um,
man,
him
I
going up
remember
against each
Melo,
other.
and I remember that when the big three back then was freaking Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah.
big core three, and of course later on, on the Celtics, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen. Um,
Well, they really were the first ones to kind of put the super team together with the big three. With
yeah,
San Antonio, like they had developed kind of their big three.
their big three came together.
Right,
Boston brought them together.
right.
Their big three, and then of course all the duplicates that have followed since. Um, like obviously more famous than Miami's
Yeah.
LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh. Um, it's amazing to me.
Well, it changed the landscape of basketball, dude, to where before, like there was, I don't know, you just didn't see the superstars joining up the way that they did after, starting with Boston, and then um, it's just usually these all-time great players that these franchises don't let them go. So the fact that LeBron got 9 years out of Cleveland, and it wasn't more than that. It was just surprising because that was unheard of at this time, and then that led to KD being the next big guy. Um, yeah, I
Oh
don't know.
yeah.
It's made basketball interesting. So off seasons have been fantastic.
They always love spicing things up. Um, well, moving right along now. Thank you all so much so far for tuning in to episode 184 of Roundabout Sports. Um, so I had talked a little bit, Adam, before you joined us about NFL training camp. First, main thing I talked about, because of course I was going to wait to talk about the Chiefs until when you got here. But want to talk to you about Kyler Murray winning the starting job in Minnesota. Do you think it was because Kyler Murray is performing well, or is it just because maybe JJ McCarthy's not?
I think it's definitely more of an indication on JJ McCarthy. So like it's because if it's even, you don't go to Murray. You go to the young guy. You go to the young guy that's cheaper that you can develop. So the fact that they're not wanting to, last year they were wanting to punch him in. They got rid of Sam Darnold because they thought he was the guy. So then you bring in, I don't, I'd hate to call Kyler a retread, but he's working that way in his career. But this is his year to have an opportunity to kind of bounce back and be that potential superstar. So yeah, I think it's more of an indication on JJ McCarthy because if I'm the Vikings, you want JJ McCarthy to win that position battle.
Yeah, I get that, and I mentioned because you have a former number. You have three first-round picks on your roster as quarterbacks. You have the former number one overall pick in Kyler Murray. You have the former number two overall pick in Carson Wentz, and you have the former number 10 overall pick in JJ McCarthy, who you were touting as the future of your team, and now 2 years in, you're already saying, "Nah, we're gonna go back to Kyler Murray." Like who obviously could not get. And I'm not saying Arizona all around was a great team and he couldn't perform, but yeah, the whole team as in total could not succeed during Kyler's tenure down in Arizona, and Kyler was a part of that. Whether it be poor decision making, injuries, or just not living up to the number one overall expectations. And now we already have people talking about, like, you look at the cast around the quarterback in Minnesota and you're saying, like, is this team destined to take a big step backwards this year?
I don't necessarily think that's the case, man. I'm not out on Kyler completely. I'm out on Kyler in Arizona completely. I think
Right.
that the best they had was, what's the, I can't remember their head coach that used to coach at Texas Tech. Uh,
Bruce Arians?
no, 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 no.
No.
He used to be at Texas Tech. He was Patrick
Oh,
Mahomes, Cliff Kingsbury. Uh,
Kingsbury, yeah.
I thought he was solid to start out with. You know what I mean? Like he brought something out of Kyler. I mean, there was a year they started out 9-0, and Kyler was
Oh,
looking great.
yeah.
I
I
don't think they
remember
made
that
the
year.
playoffs that year, so it went down
Mm.
real quick. But Kyler has shown potential to kind of be that guy. Where I do what Kyler did is getting in the Kevin O'Connell system in Minnesota because he has shown to um, get quarterbacks to be efficient enough within his offense. So it's just, kind of starting with Sam Darnold, and us looking now that, a lot of that's on Sam Darnold too, because he took that turn in Minnesota and then continue to go on beyond it. But if there's a system that made sense for Kyler and a coach to go to with the team that has that position available, I think it was a great move for Kyler to go to Minnesota. And they could be an it's either going to end up decently well for Kyler. I think this year. I don't know. I'm not counting him out. I could see Minnesota being a playoff team with him as the starting quarterback.
Oof. That is, to me, first off, it's a crowded NFC North
I agree.
with, the Packers, Bears, and even the Lions in there. Um,
Do we
so,
believe in Julian Love like that though?
oh,
Do we believe
Jordan
in
Love.
Love? Not Julian Love. Do we believe in Jordan Love like that?
I think he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. That he doesn't get talked about enough. I don't think he's elite, but I think if you build the right team around him, and they have a lot of good. My thing is they're finally investing in wide receivers.
Yeah,
Um, I think if the offensive line holds up, solid enough defense, I think the Packers can be a wild card team. My thing is, it's crazy to think about this, but I almost feel like it's and it's gonna really sound crazy based off of what the last few years have been. I think it's the Bears division to lose.
I I agree with you.
I
So
think it is
if
because the Lions peaked. The Lions had a very short window in which they were almost unstoppable.
yeah,
That like when they were 15-2 and were facing San Francisco in the NFC title game, that was their chance to make the Super
yeah,
Bowl. They didn't get it done, and honestly, injuries and contract issues with players and just sluggish performances have been hitting ever since.
because
Like,
in that situation, I agree with you. I got Chicago as the number one in that division, then the Packers, and I got the Vikings and the Lions can be a toss up. I'll give a slight edge to the Lions just because they have had some success. I know Minnesota did a couple years ago, but um, they what can Goff give them? What is this? Really, it's. I don't want to say that it's not golf. What type of running game can Detroit provide golf? Now they got Pacheco to go with their other running back.
oh yeah, with Gibbs,
Yes, with Gibbs.
with Jameer Gibbs. Yeah, and here's my thing. I want to look at quickly the odds right now. The Lions are the favorites at plus 170.
Really?
Um the Packers are second at plus 225. The Bears are third at plus 305 and the Vikings are obviously last at plus 510. Now my this is according to RotoWire. Now my question here is it look to me what is the biggest difference maker for the Chicago Bears that's going to have that I mean is this especially because it's the Madden cover season for him, is this all going to be the Caleb Williams show? Like do the Bears ride or die with Caleb Williams this year?
Absolutely, absolutely. What I would attest Caleb Williams to is early versions of Josh Allen. You're going to need those types of performances. Maybe I know Caleb Williams doesn't run as much, but those types of performances where he can throw his team on the back and be that dog. So it's just he's going into his third year. It's pivotal that he doesn't stay stagnant and he actually takes that next step. That way, because without him taking that next step, Chicago won't.
Yeah. They're predict Chicago's predicted on the sports books to have an over under of 9.5 wins this year. Which I feel like after last year, and Ben Johnson, I mean, is definitely one of my favorite coaches.
Same.
Like I love the energy he brings and everything. So now I do have a couple more quick training camp things to talk about before we wrap up this week. What do you think, as far as Chiefs training camp goes, is the biggest um I guess storyline? I mean, we got Mahomes and rehabbing back from multiple torn ligaments.
Right.
Um we of course got the former Super Bowl MVP K9 as starting running back. We also got, and this has been probably one of the most talked about things, Rashee Rice showing up looking out of shape. Potentially, they say he looks like he weighs about 220 pounds now. Um, and they're saying he looks sluggish. People that have seen him at camp. Um, what are your kind of takeaways from what's going on at Chiefs training camp right now?
I don't think it's any of those things. I don't think they're really banking on Rashee Rice to be that number one anymore. To be honest with you, they're really loving Cyrus Allen, rookie quarterback or a rookie wide receiver out of Cincinnati. Uh, Mahomes look like he's moving around well. I think the biggest story right now for the Chiefs is their right tackle battle. They have the tackle from undrafted free agent from Indiana, Khalil Benson, fighting for the starting right tackle against Jalen Moore. So we want to keep Patrick healthy, and we're potentially going to be starting an undrafted rookie over a, a tackle that they paid $15 million a year. So I think that's where right now the most of it's coming from. Or as far as like the buzz is just like, hey, this rookie might be taking over. This undrafted rookie might be taking over at right tackle. So that's where I'm interested to see where that goes. Personally, I'm a fan of Jalen Moore. So I was rooting for him to be the starting right tackle last year
Jawan Taylor.
over Taylor for sure. Um, so yeah, that for me that's where it's at because the Chiefs have to keep Patrick Mahomes upright, standing, healthy, and they need to run the damn ball. So those things is most important. Keeping Patrick healthy, on his feet. Who's the right tackle?
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned about the right tackle situation because Jalen Moore filled in when the Chiefs finally had enough of Jawan Taylor. Because for those
Mm.
that don't remember, Jawan Taylor led the league in penalties last year up to the point where he got benched at right tackle, and Jalen Moore stepped in during those last six starts. And he did very well in the run blocking department, but a lot of questions arose over his pass blocking. Henceforth, the big issue we have um at hand. So it is an interesting battle to see.
What's your take on the whole Rasheed Rice thing? I think that's more of a that could possibly be a bigger story heading into the actual season because he has a name and he's been in and out of trouble so much. And for him to come in shape, for it to be reported for him to come in the shape that he is, that may be if things go bad as far as like the Chiefs season, that may be highlighted a little bit more.
Yeah, I think if it weren't for Cyrus Allen uh, showing like performing as well as he has in camp, I think the Rasheed Rice thing would be a bigger issue. But I mean, I look at it where, and of course, he said recently that his 30 days that he spent in jail was a learning experience, and a lot of the usual things. I I don't
What are you
see.
supposed to say there?
Yeah, I was gonna say at that point. I
Right.
mean, you're expected to say that, but to me, I don't know how much longer he'll stay on the Chiefs. I do think because if I'm the Chiefs, I think if his route running gets crisper and he's able to stay healthy, I'd roll with Xavier Worthy as an outside guy and Cyrus Allen as an outside guy. Um, and maybe have Thornton as one of the inside slot guys. Um, I mean, you see it from a better perspective than I normally do. Um, but that's just kind of how I look at it from the sake of what would the Chiefs look like receiver wise without Rasheed Rice um, in the picture. I mean, you also got. I mean, I guess if you want to go for guys like Amari Evans, Jalen Royals, like there's other guys in there fighting here and there, but the main ones right now are Rasheed Rice, Xavier Worthy, Cyrus Allen, and
Thornton.
um, Thornton.
Yeah.
So
So I'm hoping to see Thornton get more reps this year. The fact that when Xavier Worthy was out and Rasheed Rice was out, that he was the number one receiver. And then as soon as those two come back in, his play time just significantly drops. He was the one player that actually spread the field. So and then the development of Xavier Worthy, what's that actually look like? Like we're saying, for him to be a route runner and a little bit less of a gadget player.
exactly. All these and more storylines that we get to watch as training camp continues and as the preseason games are upon us. That time of season is here. We're finally in the thick of football season. Before you know it, we'll be talking about opening kickoff and everything. Oh my gosh.
Less than a month away, brother.
Less than a month away. Well, folks, we're going to wrap it up here on Roundabout Sports for episode 184. As always, remember, Roundabout Sports can be found on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, and any and all other streaming platforms out there. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, X, and the official Interstate 70 Sports Media YouTube channel. Also, as always, we put up the NAMI helpline at the end of every show. For that, you dial 1 800 950 NAMI, 1 800 950 NAMI. The National Alliance of Mental Illness is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for those who struggle with mental health issues, as well as for their families. And of course, we put up the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at the end of every show. And for that, you dial 988. The line is open 24/7, 365, 366 on leap years. Understand you're never alone in this world. There is always somebody out there who loves you, who cares about you, who wants nothing but the best for you. We all go through struggles, trials, tribulations in the everyday crazy world that we live in, but understand that you are never alone. There is always someone out there who loves you, who cares about you. Um, and you're just a phone call, a text message, an email away from what could be that life saving moment for you. And you can be the listening ears and watchful eyes for someone in need. As always, I want to thank my dear friend and co host Adam Frecks for joining alongside me this week. And until next week, folks, I'm the Maestro Jeremy Carpin. Remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. Good night, everybody.